So welcome everybody. Welcome to the London School of Digital Business, the Great People interview series. And today I've got a wonderful guest, Arjan Singh. Is that right, Arjan?
That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that the way you pronounce my name is great. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And he's going to talk to us today about challenges in business, some of the pain points of his experiences and building his own businesses. So, Arjun, please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you.
Hi, good morning. So my name's Arjan Singh. I am the group CEO, a CEO of a group which is within the vaping industry, I should say.
Wonderful. And just tell me a little bit more about your business, please, Arjun.
So we've got a different sort of branches of the business. So it sits within a group. So we've got a retail arm with over 60 retail units.
Yeah.
And we've just launched our own distribution, which entails ensure our own product manufacturing, which we will then distribute out. So very exciting times for us.
Wonderful. And again, it's a really fascinating business. Vaping has lots of challenges. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, vaping is always exposed and always within, obviously, the media, and recently all for the wrong reasons. And we're always battling to try and fight that, or trying to find some sort of synergy with the media, just to say, look, there is benefits to vaping.
Yeah.
And understandably, there's a point where the overlap is by and large more leading towards the implications. And when I'm saying about the implication, I'm talking about the epidemic within youth. I'm talking about the sustainability factor, the landfill factor. And these are factors that we don't, within the industry, appreciate when we're trying to fight against it. So by and large, as mentioned before, we've got an ongoing battle where now, with the disposables that were causing a lot of these issues, with them being banned on the 1st of June, it's now for the likes of our organization and other, 3, 4 large corporations and organization within the vape industry to go out there and work with the media and give them the benefits of what vaping does. And we always, I mean, our vision as an organization, as a business is, it's a healthier alternative in comparison to cigarettes.
Absolutely.
And I was speaking to an individual last week where we spoke about how alcohol, you can still advertise for alcohol. And for me, I've got issues with that. Alcohol is a vice. I mean, there is no health benefits for alcohol. It's nothing about it. Now, my take on it is because alcohol, a lot of us, bar me, and a lot of people out there that will use alcohol as a vice is to get away. It's a Friday night. It's become a part of the culture. Will question that. And our ongoing battle is we're out here trying to say to people that, as opposed to having cigarettes, which is, you're burning a product and the byproducts of the products of the carcinogens, etc., etc. And, I'm not going to go in through, the multiple chemicals that are involved in that.
Absolutely.
We've got something that's a healthier alternative. So try and help us out trying to get the word out there.
Yeah.
So further to your question, there is always ongoing battles within our industry, but hopefully within the next couple of years, you'll see that we'll line those out, because we are also faced with dissident organizations and people within our industry that are doing it all for the wrong reasons. And when we started the business, it was with the vision of getting people onto a healthier alternative.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I did a bit of a work for one of the major cigarette manufacturers, and they, like yourself, truly understood the social implications of what they were doing. And I always thought it was quite odd that, we are talking about much healthier alternatives, and yet there is still a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation that's out in the popular press as to what vaping what vaping can bring to users.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. I mean, I was at the Vaping Expo in Dubai a couple of weeks ago. So we was in China and we spent the best part of 2 weeks in China and Dubai.
Mhm.
On the first day of that Vaping Expo, what a lot of people don't see was the initial talks or the what they had going on in terms of lectures about vaping, and I was part of it. I had to go down and see what our vaping industry in Dubai looks like and worldwide, etc.
Yeah.
And they had one particular speaker there, a professor from the United States, and I've been in this industry for the best part of 7 years. And being exposed to that lecturer or that professor, and
Mm.
the way he was describing the benefits and how the misinformation and the miseducation is leading to literally where we're not getting the full information.
Mm.
My mind was blown. I was like, why have we not been exposed to this? We're in the industry. We
Yeah.
need to work with the media to get them to understand. So one of the factors that this professor brought up as a fact was um, doctors in the US, 85% of the doctors in the US think nicotine causes cancer.
All right.
And a mind-blowing 48% in Europe think it causes cancer, and it doesn't. It's that miseducation.
Mm.
And there's a lot of speakers and lecturers and professors that were talking at this vaping expo. And there was what I'd not been exposed to or been subject to was there's a lot of tests and there's a lot of things that individuals have gone through at university, through laboratories, um, to understand the health benefits of e-cigarettes.
Yeah.
We're still I'm not going to call it embryonic phase of our industry because it is quite maturing, but sometimes I do still feel that. So we have got an ongoing battle. So I'm got a good relationship with some of the larger corporations within our industry, and we're always on calls, always in meetings about what do we do to get that education that I saw in Dubai
Yeah.
to individuals, to the media outlets, to people that can help that
Mm.
person who doesn't know about vaping, who's on cigarettes, to get onto a healthier alternative. Because ideally, I mean, part of vaping is to bring people down, to bring their nicotine phases down until they're at a point where they're on zero nicotine, where they've gone off nicotine completely.
Absolutely.
The end goal with their vaping, getting people
Yeah.
rich, yeah.
Although that's obviously, as you've already mentioned, there are players in the industry that aren't helping that education. And that sort of brings me to the next point, which is, how do you attract and retain customers? Because that is one of the big complaints, obviously, that some commentators have about, attracting the wrong sort of customer to the product.
We've got a so many letters from the council, good letters
Yeah.
from different regions of where our locations are, about commending us on the training that we give our staff.
Wonderful.
So what they do is they'll send people in to test the staff, which we're 100% up for. Are
Yeah.
they going to sell to an underage? What kind of sale are they going to? Is it a proxy sale? All these kind of factors that they'll send people in, and it comes down to training and the way we train our staff. And we've got a full dedicated team on training, and they're forever. I call it it's further development. It's always we always further develop our trainers to understand what the legislation is, understanding that, and then cascaded that down to our teams within the retail stores. So how we maintain customers is educating them first and foremost, and it's proper
Yeah.
education. It's saying to them from the start, it's not looking. I'm a salesperson. I've come from my background and my family background is, me and my four brothers, we're all graduates. However, my father's come from markets, so it's that sort of we're salespeople.
Yeah.
However, getting into this industry, we understood the education involved in getting that sale across, because you're not going to retain that customer if your mindset is getting them onto the most expensive product. So
Mhm.
there's a series of questions in terms of the way we come across. There's a series of questions our staff will say. For example, if you come in saying, I'm smoking, and I want to get onto vaping,"
Yeah.
that's a trigger point for our staff to saying, first and foremost, how many are you smoking?
Right. Wow.
What are you smoking, etc., etc., etc. Is a series of questions that then lead on to them saying, right, I've got a perfect device for you. We've got devices in our stores that are 50, 60, 70 pound, but there might be something that for a smoker that's coming in that it's a 15 pound device with liquids, and then we educate them on the cost benefits of going onto vaping, because it's a massive benefit on in comparison to cigarettes and obviously vaping. So the retention of customer comes down to how well you educate the individual, how well you educate the customer. And in short, it comes down to the organization. How are they educating their staff? Are they going across and saying, just sell the most expensive product? What KPIs have they got in place? What targets have they got in place?
Right.
And so for us, it's, we've got certain KPIs internally where we'll test, what sort of starter kit, it comes down to that. And that's why we're growing at such of a rate, because we've got that great customer retention. We're building the brand that people are now beginning to trust in the brand. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but when people see our name about the E6 store, it
Yeah.
comes with that attachment, which is, it's a trusted brand that we can go into and get proper advice, and we'll be educated on
Okay.
vaping. Yeah.
Wow. And it, again, purely interest because, my background is in training, coaching, and so forth. How do you do go about training your people? Because you're talking about retail stores, you're talking about smaller, there must be quite a process to actually continually educate your own, employees to ensure that they're constantly delivering that great education.
So it's a module that we have internally called the CPD, which is Continued Professional Development. We've built an internal, I'm going to call it a Facebook equivalent. It's a social
Okay.
media where it's all our organization on this one. It's not a Facebook, but we've built this system for our internal staff. So
Right.
every so often we'll have our trainers reach out. So we've got a head of trainers, we've got two trainers at the top, and then they'll reach out to their sub trainers, so to speak.
Yeah.
They'll cascade. So any new legislation, etc., we can just put it on this platform. To an extent that when a post goes up, for example, we have a feature which you have to acknowledge. So you've got to acknowledge it. And then further to that, we'll put the staff through MCQs, multiple choice questions. So if we put a new development or a legislation, we will send it out through this platform, and then we'll test them to see how successful they've read through it. It's just we're very thorough,
Wonderful.
because for me, if I'm going into a shop and this is not a good thing, but a lot of the team that we have within our stores don't know of me, or when I walk in, they just think I'm someone random, because we've got so much staff and so many stores, and I'm going to try getting lots of more stores. But and sometimes it's a good issue to have, because I can go in as a customer, and
Yeah.
and I know some of the questions that have arose in terms of the head office or the training. So I'll ask them some of those questions or trigger them to see what they've come back with.
Right.
And a lot of the times it's great, because it's like it's working. The continued professional development's working. Our
Right.
trainers are doing a good job of it. And it's always engaging with them. It's, how well do we engage as an organization with our team that are on the front line? I think that's imperative. It's
Mhm.
transparency, it's education, and it's communication.
Wow. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you're growing so quickly, that must bring with it its own challenges as well.
Immense challenges, immense challenges. So again, it's a great issue to have, but sometimes you step away thinking, what are we doing? But it is. I mean, there are immense challenges with growth,
Yeah.
having the right team on. At certain points, I was in a meeting this morning with our COO at how quick we can bring in people and employees and individuals. And for
Wow.
me, it's always I always want to bring in the right individuals that fit the culture and fit the discipline of the organization.
Yeah.
So it's a part of obviously employing people and recruitment it's putting them through different phases of number one, are they going to fit our culture? Are they going to fit
Absolutely.
the discipline of our organization? So, it's easy just to bring people in, but, 2, 3 weeks in when you're like, oh, we made a mistake, I don't want to go through that. But it's bringing in the right people at the right time. It's like I said, it's a great issue to have, but you've just got to build robust systems.
Mhm.
Then you've got to bring in people that will understand those systems.
Yeah.
And when we started it, it was all over the place. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sat here today where it's like, I can confidently say that when we first started the business, it was, it was completely overwhelming.
Wow.
It was just overwhelming at such a point. But again, I think just starting off with that right individual, bringing that right individual, then that will cascade that team, that will bring in his players of the right people is imperative. Um,
Wonderful.
yeah, so I think delegation's another one as well. You've got to make sure that you delegate correctly.
Yeah.
Right, and the COO that I bought in recently, the last sort of 6 to 12 months ago, is helped me massively.
And trust must be a very big issue as well. When you're growing so quickly, you cannot, as the CEO, be all over the place. So having teams, people working for you that you trust must be a real focus point for you.
Yeah, I had this conversation with an individual that's starting a business off, and he just said, he goes, look, you mentioned teams, building a robust system and teams, but if you've not got the funding, what do we do? Do I go out and go and get funding? I says, no, what? The starting point is that the embryonic stage of your company, you need to
Yeah.
wear all hats. You need to be a marketer. You need to be, a COO. You need to be a finance director. You need to be all sorts. You need to be CEO. You need to be doing everything.
Yeah.
Just that gives you an understanding of when you further develop your organization of your pain points within there. But trust is massive. That's why sometimes you struggle with recruitment. You
Mm.
might bring on the right person. I mean, what you're working with for the best part of 12, 18 months and think that's not right. And it is. I mean, you've got to build that up over time. But I think what helps with that is having the right vision. And if you can have that vision and cascade that vision down and then set proper KPIs from it, it doesn't come down to trust. It comes down to just measuring, and making sure that they're hitting the KPIs. And
I,
that's
I was
that's
going to talk to you about your goals and your purpose as well, because
right.
clearly, you're speaking very passionately. You're speaking with a sense of not just trying to make a little bit of money, but you're talking about your purpose, the big picture, education. I mean, these are quite big goals. These go beyond just trying to make a living. So, can you tell me a bit more?
Yeah, no, look, luckily we've got other businesses that we can make livings from, property
Yeah.
development, etc., etc. And I am very passionate about the industry that we're currently sat in, and it comes with challenges. And what I love is I love a challenge. Um, it
Well,
sounds really weird, but that's what keeps me on my toes. I love the challenge of being within an industry which is, at the moment, within the media, is frowned upon. I'd love to be sat here in 2, 3 years' time working with my colleagues within the industry to saying, it's now part of, NHS are all over it. NHS, reach out to us saying, what more could we be doing to educate?
well,
So I mean, I'm very passionate about it, but it comes with, like I said, with anything that I do, it comes with education.
yeah,
How well versed are you within the organization? How well versed are you within the industry that you're currently sat in?
yeah.
There's got to be certain dynamics, or you've got to understand the mechanics of the industry, and that's
Mhm.
so important because, for me, especially within this industry, the financials are a byproduct of what we do on a day to day. So
That's a great way of looking at it.
that's not at the forefront of why we do it.
Yeah.
That's a byproduct. Believe it or not, I mean, a lot of what we earn gets put straight back into our organization for the infrastructure, for the systems and for the people. Everything gets thrown back in. And
Wow.
for me personally, as a Sikh, I mean, I've got to donate 10% of my income to charity anyway.
Yeah.
So, like I said to you, I mean, if you do something right, and with with a proper mindset, the byproduct is always going to be money. And I think
Absolutely.
if you get into a business with that as a forefront, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think you need to do it for all the
Absolutely.
reasons.
And I was going to mention the spiritual element, but clearly, that is also a big part of who you are as an individual, and clearly in how you run your businesses.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's my faith. I've got, I'm a Sikh, obviously you can tell by, but that dictates what I do on a day to day.
Yeah.
I mean, just one part of it, part of my faith. I mean, I wear this bangle which is called a gurra, and
Mhm.
the way I see it, it symbolizes a lot of things for different individuals. But the way I see it, I'm handcuffed to my faith. That's my handcuff to my faith.
Wow.
So on a day to day, the way I say it to my children as well, if you find yourself going off tangent or you're doing something, just keep hold of that. That's your faith. You're handcuffed to your faith.
That's powerful.
So that will then lead on to you not hopefully doing the wrong things. You know,
Mhm.
stay focused, and faith plays a massive part on what we do as a family on a day to day.
Wow.
It just keeps us humble, keeps us going in the right direction as well. Especially when I come into my office, I mean, behind me, I've got two images of, religious images. So as soon as I
Yeah.
come in, I pay my respects to that. And that's how I drive forward on my day to day. But it plays a major factor in my day to day, who I am as an individual, and hopefully what I will then guide my children and my family on further down the line.
Wow. Thank you. And in terms of your experiences, how big a part do they play? Things that you've faced, barriers you've faced already?
Um, I always say this when I speak to individuals. I'm the youngest of four. My father started his businesses off. So my father came to the country with his parents back in 1962.
Mhm.
And he's always been part of business. He's always been very entrepreneurial. He just always wanted to do business. Always wanted to do business. Back in the 80s, he went over to China and he started his import export business from Hong Kong and China. Uh,
Wow.
it didn't have the right advisors where when the recession hit in the 80s, he wasn't recession proof, unfortunately, lost everything. But he had the grit and determination to get back up and go and start again. So then he started the markets off, and then it was a natural thing for him to bring his children on. So my other three brothers went on to do the markets with my father, and whilst they were
Wow.
still going through education, so he put us all through university. Um, and I always say this to all the individuals that I meet in life, that I stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's my father and my brothers. They've
Wow.
allowed me to sit in this seat today as a CEO. They've allowed me to live a childhood. So when my brothers were going on to do the markets on on a Saturday, going to do, they've allowed me to sit at home, have, watch Saturday morning TV and go and play football with my cousins and my friends, etc., etc. So they've allowed me to do something that they couldn't experience. So I
Wow.
always say I'm very fortunate in that sense. But
Yeah.
with that comes the lessons that my father taught us. So naturally, as time goes on, you find yourself driven towards going into the market. So, doing what you've
Mhm.
got to do. And it comes with lessons. So I've seen it firsthand, how tough my father's been through it, how tough my brothers have been through it. At the same time, my father going through severe arthritis to go and do the markets while educating his children. And I at certain points, this is where it humbles you what you're doing on a day to day. And I say this to my children, when we're out and about, and we're fortunate when we've got the time on a Saturday and a Sunday to go and spend time together. I said it's because of the foundations that my father's put into place for me to enjoy what I'm doing on a Saturday and Sunday. Um, and it humbles you. Sometimes you've got to think about where you've come from and the past experiences. It's through my father, it's through my brothers,
Wow.
and the businesses that I've been a part of. We was a part of a fashion business, which we had, multiple shops, and I run the
Okay.
online business of it. And then that was a part of an acquisition, that business, and that came with its challenges. But with this particular business, I mean, we're one of the largest within the industry. That comes
Mhm.
with its own challenges. That my father's not necessarily seen. So it's new challenges and new obstacles and new, hurdles that you've got to face. But
Yeah.
you've always got to remember, your background, how they've dealt with it, and how I'm going to deal with further obstacles and challenges.
Yeah.
And it's having that mindset and having, you've got to be steadfast in dealing with the obstacles and challenges.
Well, that humbleness comes through very loud and strong. It's beautiful to see. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So sort of starting to wrap up, any advice for entrepreneurs?
My advice would always be network. It's massive.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
networking is huge. Um, and I always say, be a bystander. Listen. You don't need to always talk. I
Mhm.
say this to my children. You might be sat in a conversation that 90% of the conversation. They might be advising you on how to do algebra, and you know it 90%. It's that little 10% that you don't know. But because you've listened, you've now acquired that extra bit, you know. So for me, to any entrepreneur, I always say be a bystander, just listen. When you're sat in a room, you don't necessarily need to talk.
Um,
And for me, sometimes the weakest person in the room is sometimes the one who just continues to talk. And it's quite ironic because I've done a lot of the talking here, but the weakest person in the room is sometimes the one who just continues to talk with no substance,
yeah.
just who just wants to talk just to be the person that everyone sees.
Yeah.
Just listen, take notes, see what's going out there. And educate yourselves. Education is key. Read. I wasn't a massive reader, but I like to read business books. I like to read things about Dave Brailsford that mentions the
Mm,
1% marginal gains concept, where 1% improvements, weekly, daily, monthly. That
absolutely.
that's massive. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things as young entrepreneurs, what they tend to do, and again, I'm not going to take any credit for this. This is through learning through Dave Brailsford or people that are out there.
Mhm.
They always get overwhelmed by looking at the peak of a mountain, and they'll say, and it's overwhelming, and that's it. They're done. It's like I can't achieve that.
No.
For me, it's have that in the back of your mind, but
Mhm.
it's building those base camps on that mountain. It's having those little steps to get to there. And if you're not overwhelmed by the peak, just have those little bases, these 1% marginal gains. In no time, you'll be hitting the peak in, in a space of whatever it is. But it's not being overwhelmed. Education is key, and just listen, and sometimes just be a bystander.
Great advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any last thoughts before we close up?
No, I appreciate your time. I hope I can add value to hopefully some of your listeners and some of the people that are watching, um, and just more entrepreneurs. One of the things that I am going to say, I was subject to exhaustion last week, and this is just a bit of a random one. And on my LinkedIn, I was preaching about the value and the of rest. Taking time out, and I was preaching about how important it is just to take a rest and switch off from everything. Unfortunately, I didn't practice what I preached last week, and for the best part of 3 days, I was exhausted. I wasn't on 100%. So I'm going to say that I advocate the importance of literally switching off, about getting your rest in, about sleeping. It's a superpower. There's nothing. No one's going to say anything about you're not working hard enough, and it's more about getting that rest in, about being at 100%. So yeah, rest is a superpower. So a part of entrepreneurship is rest.
Look after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's massive.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Arjun, it's been a real pleasure. So thank you so much. And the team will be in touch.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.